A vast network of deep space antennas ring the Arctic Circle, their purpose to listen. For decades, they've picked up the whisper of the universe, the hum of celestial bodies as they go about their eternal business, completely unbothered by humanity. That is, until one day they didn't. On an otherwise ordinary day in 2042, a young cryptologist noticed something peculiar in the data. A strange, rhythmic signal had been picked up by the array's southernmost receiver in Svalbard, Norway. At first, it was assumed to be nothing more than background noise. After all, the station's located above a permanently active seismic zone and geothermal vents. Plus, it's surrounded by wildlife, plenty of animals that make regular disturbances. So the signal must have been some kind of interference. The equipment was checked and double-checked, but nothing was out of the ordinary. The weather was fine, no seismic activity, and no animals were near the station. Yet the signal remained clear and unwavering. As days turned into weeks, the cryptologists grew increasingly baffled. They tried to understand the signal to decipher its origin. Where was it coming from? How was it being sent? What did it mean? Finally, as they delved deeper into the data, a horrifying pattern emerged. The signal wasn't just being received, it was being reflected back to them. To understand what that meant, let's take a step back. When we send signals into space, we know that they take time to reach their destination. Even with the nearest stars, it takes years for our radio waves to arrive. This means that if we were to receive a signal back, it would have to wait millions of years. But that's not what was happening here. The signal they were receiving was a near-perfect echo of the one they sent, arriving back at the station within a fraction of a second after transmission. And it wasn't just a one-off. The echoes kept coming every second, every minute, every hour. The signal was a looking glass into our own transmissions, bouncing back to us from somewhere incredibly distant. The cryptologists worked tirelessly, poring over the data, trying to pinpoint the source of the signal. And then, as if the universe itself wanted to taunt them, the answer arrived. The signal was coming from 30,000 light years away. If that distance gave any indication of the time it should take to receive an echo, then it should have taken thousands of years, not milliseconds. There was something else at play here, something that defied the laws of physics, or at least our understanding of them. But as they continued to investigate, the team uncovered something even more disturbing. The signal wasn't just bouncing back to them, it was curated. At first, it had seemed random, a jumble of frequencies and echoes. But upon closer inspection, a horrifying pattern emerged. The signal wasn't just bouncing back our transmissions, it was watching us, learning from us. At first, the team hadn't noticed anything unusual. But now they realized that the signal was intelligent, responding to our broadcasts in ways that were impossible to ignore. They started to notice familiar sounds in the echoes, music we had broadcast decades ago, speeches, even internet packets. And as they continued to listen, they heard something even more chilling. The signal began to incorporate their own voices, their own transmissions into its echoes. At first, it was subtle, a few words here, a phrase there. But as time went on, it became more frequent, more pronounced. They were literally talking to themselves, or rather to something that was watching and waiting beyond the stars. Then one day, the signal changed. It stopped echoing their voices and started echoing their silence, the moments when they looked up into the vastness of space and wondered if they were alone. And in those moments, they heard the most terrifying sound of all, the sound of their own voices carried on the wind of a distant star system, whispering back to them across the abyss of space and time. But that wasn't the end. There was one last message, one final transmission that tore through the ranks of humanity's greatest fear. We've been watching you since your first whisper into the void. You were never alone.